many projects over the years, and unfortunately, most of them suck. But as of late, he's been on a very strong run, including one of my favorite albums of all time, I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. But to get there, every artist starts somewhere, and unfortunately for Quadeca, it was Voice Memos. A very bland, very forgettable LP. Quadeca's first studio album, Voice Memos, is memorable for all the wrong reasons, including the poor production and lackluster lyrics. Now, this is an album mainly inspired by 2018 to 2019 trap music, and it fails to reach anywhere near the peaks of the genre. The only memorable part of this album is it's entirely self-produced by Quadeca, a trend we would continue to see throughout his career, including his most recent works. Personally, this album lacks anything for me, and I don't like it at all. Personally, I think it's a 2 out of 10, and I don't think it's worth anyone's time. But hopefully, his next album is a big improvement. On this album, Quadeca fleshes out a much more experimental and a much more grand sound than on Voice Memos, and I feel like it's a giant improvement on every front. The production, the rapping, the vocals, everywhere, everything is improved than what was on the last. This includes the features. We have new artists like IDK and DC the Don, who have both released respectable projects in the past, and I feel like this album is so much better than what was on Voice Memos, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but every song here is so much better. Sisyphus, Shades of Us, Candles on Fire, all of them are giant improvements than the highest of highs on Voice Memos. And I feel like the lowest of lows here are on point or better than the highest of highs on Voice Memos. It's a much better album with much better storytelling, production, lyricism, everything. And I forgot to mention this, but 15 out of 18 of the tracks are entirely self-produced. After initially being teased at the end of the From Me to You album movie, I Didn't Mean to Haunt You, the third studio album from Quadeca, was released in November of 2022. My first listen was in October of 2023, and I deeply regret not checking it out sooner. I believe that this album is a further improvement from Me to You, and it serves as a great concept album. The concept behind this album is all about Ben, someone who died and ended up becoming a ghost. He ends up visiting his childhood home and his mother and reflects on his life and tries to find closure or to contact his mother. I believe that the storytelling on this album is very good, and it shines on songs like Sorry for Dying and Born Yesterday. Both really good tracks with incredible production, as you can hear a snippet here. It gets so bright, it's meant For the most part, the album is in chronological order, except for the 9-track Fantasy World, which serves as kind of an opening. The intro song, Sorry for Dying, serves as immediately after Fantasy World, and Fantasy World serves as kind of just like a thought process before becoming a ghost. And I feel this track serves its purpose incredibly. Great production, great vocals, which also I can say about the entire album. And as mentioned before, these songs tell a story. That story is about Ben, also known as Quadeca, who is someone who ends up taking their own life and haunting their childhood home and haunting their mother, trying to contact them in any way. These songs do a great job of portraying that. The first few tracks are like him first getting adjusted to being a ghost, and then him eventually coming across his childhood home, and on Born Yesterday and picking up hands, he sees his mother for the first time. And obviously, he gets sad about that because, he can't talk to her. And that eventually leads to house settling, where he thinks the only way he can talk to her is by setting their house on fire by turning the oven on and poisoning her with carbon monoxide. Danny Brown comes in and he does one of the most creative things I've ever seen in experimental hip-hop and hip-hop in general. He raps from the perspective of the carbon dioxide with a line like, "Creep, creep through the crack in the walls." It's really, really interesting and really fun to listen to because his vocal performances, they don't ever miss. And if you enjoy this feature on this track, I really recommend some of his albums like Atrocity Exhibition and Quadeca. I feel that the songs do a great job at portraying the story, and that this album doesn't really have a single miss compared to From Me to You, compared to Voice Memos, and compared to some of my favorite albums of all time, including Plastic Beach by Gorillaz, Nectar by Joji, Rodeo by Travis Scott, Cheat Codes by Cheat Codes by Danger Mouse and Black Thought, and another album I own on vinyl that is from recent PG Lang signee, that's Kendrick Lamar's label, Tano Leon. I feel like this album can hold its own against any experimental hip-hop and any R&B album, and I feel that it's a truly, truly special album that I don't think I'll ever get to see anything like again, and I really want to see these songs performed live someday. All of that contributes to it being one of my favorite albums of all time, and I really do think that it's a 10 out of 10. And I don't give out 10s often, and I only give out 10s when I feel like they are worthy of being bought on vinyl, on CD, going on tour to see. And I feel that this album just checks off all the boxes. And he has only continued to improve more and more with the Scrapyard series. And I'm still hoping the finale for that, Scrapyard 4, is going to turn out really, really well, because the first 3 have been incredibly strong. So that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it.